advisor with Women's Enterprise Center. I am delighted to bring this webinar to you today. We have a great lineup of guests and really a full 1 hour webinar with some good information and tips and helping you in your business to get prepared as we're moving through this COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome. A couple of notes. You can chat at the bottom of your screen. If you use your arrow and then move down, you will see a chat box. You can click on that and type in a question or a comment as we're moving along. We will have a period specifically for Q&A. Chat is the easiest. Carrie Lee, our skills development manager, is behind the scenes today, and she's taking care of your questions, and we'll read those out to our panelists. So we've got some great opportunities today for you to take a look at what is happening in your business at this time and to give you some tips and tools. This webinar is all about momentum, helping you to move forward and have your business ready for when opening begins, because it is going to happen. There will be a period where you'll be opening your business, and we've got some great panelists today. I'm going to introduce first Judy Michaud. Judy is the founder and president of Trans Global Business Group Incorporated and OHO Education. She has spent the past 24 years serving community leaders and business owners by developing courses that meet the needs of the clients. Her passion for project management and proposal writing has helped her clients to bring in over $18 million. Judy loves teaching, both in class and online. And in February of this year, Judy was awarded Inspirational Teacher and Mentor by the Northeast Advancing Society. And she was nominated for the RBC Canadian Women Entrepreneur Awards. Welcome, Judy. I would also like to introduce Joan Kleinsteuber. She's a chartered professional in human resources, a certified coach, a consultant, and owner of Universal Human Resources. With over 20 years experience in human resources management and finance, Joan offers her clients personalized expert advice on a variety of human resource matters, workforce strategies, and training. She's passionate about helping leaders and teams and provides HR services that contribute in successfully balancing the objectives of the organization and the needs of the employees. Joan understands that planning for growth, improving employee productivity, and workplace balance are essential to business success, and she's here to help one solution at a time. Welcome, Joan. We're going to start today's session. I'm going to talk a little bit about Women's Enterprise Center to those of you who may not know about us. I'm going to do a little bit of an update on government supports, and then we're going to move into the main part of our webinar today, moving forward. Pivot and SWOT. Sounds interesting. Judy and Joan are going to tag team and talk to you about pivot and SWOT. Developing new plans, because you want to be moving forward. Gaining momentum is about an action plan, and then the opportunity as well to ask your questions. We've got a full agenda here today. About Women's Enterprise Center, we help women business owners to realize their business potential. We do that through our loans program. We have business loans up to $150,000. We have professional advice and resources, skills training, such as this webinar today and many others that we're offering. We have a mentoring program, and most of all, and most importantly at this difficult time, a supportive community. We are here to help you to feel like you're not alone when we're in the middle of a pandemic. The ways that we can support you right now, for our existing loans clients, we offered a 3-month interest-free on the loans, as well as concessions to holiday 3 months of payments and make them up at a later time. So we're able to work and be flexible as a not-for-profit organization. And we also have on our website a COVID-19 resources page. So you can find out from there. Here, thank you, Carrie Lee, is showing us right there on our website. You can see on the screen, COVID-19 resources and support. You can scroll down. We have put our financial fitness webinars on for you free of charge at this time. And I'll be talking briefly about the importance of that, managing your finances during a difficult time, especially for those businesses who have been closed. We're going to touch base briefly on cash flow, and our previous webinars have much more in-depth information. So do check this out. Go to our website following today's session, and you will get even more information. So we have key messages, and I'm going to very briefly touch on these today because, as I said, you can access these webinars where we touched on these in a lot more detail from our website and download them free of charge. So please do that. But one of the things is we want to encourage you to focus on what it is that you can control. During a time like this, where businesses had no control over being able to be open or be closed, those kinds of changes, that kind of challenge, we want you to focus on those things that you can control. A key message is about following public health authorities, getting information that's accurate and from your provincial governing bodies. Manage your cash flow. That really needs to be number one, especially your outflows. And again, lots of information for you on that. Practice your negotiation skills. We have some great resources on how to do that, but this is the time to ask for what you want in order to build resilience, in order to be innovative, and most important, create an action plan. Now is not the time to ignore those parts of your business that need your attention. Pick the ones that you can control and create an action plan. So we're going to, I just want to remind you that on the chat is where you can ask questions of our panelists. And again, Carrie Lee, our Skills Development Manager, is going to monitor those questions. Okay, so our panelists, both Judy and Joan, are going to tag team today to bring this moving forward through change information to you. And so I'm going to turn the webinar over to our very professional, experienced team, Judy and Joan, moving forward through change.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be here. My name is Judy Michaud, and Joan is here as well. Joan, do you want to introduce yourself and say hi?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. So I know it's going to be a lot of quick information, so looking forward to it.
So what we're going to touch on today is we're going to touch on when change happens fast. And as a business owner, you need to be ready to change all the time. That's just business. That's just entrepreneurship. But in this type of change, when it happens this quickly, many people go into fight, flight, or freeze. And it's normal. And I think we've all been, all of us in the last month and a half have been in one of those places or all of those places, but we can't stay in there as an entrepreneur. We have to keep moving. We have to keep moving forward. And it's easy to stay there for some length of time. But what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how to get out of that as quick as you can and move on and if you find yourself feeling like, oh, just stressed right out and overwhelmed, if you use some tools, it'll help, that we're going to give you today, it'll help you to start thinking about, how do I move forward? And it's going to give you a fresh outlook on your business. So what really helps is getting support like you are today, coming to this webinar, getting some advice from people who've been in business for a long time, that have been down the ropes of maybe a downfall in their business, or had to pivot or do some changes, getting the guidance and assistance that you need and the information that you need, and really putting yourself out there as a woman entrepreneur. You're worth it to make these changes right now. So moving forward, you have to start stepping to move forward. You can't stay stuck. You have to do things to move forward. So let's talk about what you can do moving forward. The first thing that you need to do is, if you've had clients or you've been in business for any length of time, you want to get back to your clients. You want to find out what their problems are. Take a look at, just ask them, just phone them up and ask them, you know, where are they at? How are they doing? How has this affected them? Ask some hard questions and find out where they are right now, and then help them solve those problems. They came to you because they liked you, because they wanted to do business with you, because you had something that you could offer them. Now you probably have other skills that you haven't tapped into, and when they start to unleash the problems on you and tell you what's going on, you're going to be able to look at it and go, I could probably help them with that. And so that's where we get to the place where we're going to go next, which is pivoting. And this is where you got to analyze your business. Pivoting doesn't mean just slowly turning your ship. It means sometimes just completely 360 and doing something else for a while. And that's okay. Sometimes as business owners, we kind of stay stuck in what we're really good at, and we can't seem to think about how to move out of that. And I know I've been in this place before many times, being in business for over 24 years. There has been many times I've had to pivot. I remember once I was working 2 weeks out of town and 2 weeks in town, and my kids have left home, and I had no children, so it was not a big deal. And then I found myself in a position of taking care of my 2 grandchildren full time, and I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave home. I had to be at home. And so I thought, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? It was a terrible time. I was in that fight, flight, or freeze mode, and I stayed there for far too long, but I did pivot. I finally said, okay, what can I do? What are my skills? What can I do differently to stay at home and to be that person for my family too? Because we, you know, many of us have families, many of us have all kinds of things where people we're taking care of. And so you don't want to drop what you're doing with your family just because your business is going sideways. But on the other hand, you've got all these hard questions that you've got to ask yourself. So I pivoted. I changed my business completely to stay at home so that I could make money and work while my babies were sleeping. And so one of the ways to pivot is with a SWOT analysis. So Joan's going to go through just briefly, if you've never done a SWOT analysis, she's just going to go through briefly what it takes to put a SWOT analysis together and the things that you want to consider when you're putting it together.
Good. Hello. So a SWOT analysis is a technique that can be used to help an organization or a person identify their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and their threats. That's what SWOT stands for. And it could be related to their business. So a SWOT analysis can be done anytime and can be used to access a changing environment, which we're all in right now, and how your business can respond and be proactive. It can help you look at your business in a whole new way. How many people have recently done a SWOT analysis for their business? Can you put a thumbs up or type in the chat yes? As we don't have a lot of time to go in depth on a SWOT analysis, we thought we'd just give you some quick tips today to help you get started. So yeah, yes. So strengths and weaknesses are internal to a company, which are things that businesses have some control over and can change. And opportunities and threats are external to a business, and they are just things that you have no control over. So we're going to go into just give you a couple questions that you need to think about on the next 4, which is under strengths. Look at what are your strengths, what are your competitive advantages, and what do you do better than your other competitors, what's unique to your company, and what do others perceive as your strengths. As you're going through this SWOT analysis, it might be good to get on a phone call with friends or other business partners or other business people that know you well, and they can also help you bring out some of this creativity to help you. So the next one is on weaknesses, and you want to look at what your weaknesses are. Like, what is it you do poorly? What is your biggest financial weakness? And what do your competitors do better than you? And is your location an ideal location? And what do others perceive as your weakness? So going through some of these, I know they're really tough questions, and you have to be truthful and honest when you're going through a SWOT analysis, because that is where things will come out that you're really good at and things that you're not doing well at. And then how can you do better at those things that you're not doing better at?
And if you have a team, Joan, can I just add this? If you have a team, don't forget to include them when you're putting your SWOT together. Make sure that you ask them their thoughts. Get them to put some answers to this, because sometimes they see things differently than you do.
Yes, absolutely. When we're doing businesses, it's always good to take your team. Like, you could sit down yourself and start, and then you bring in your team and you go through it, and it's like a brainstorming session, and you would be surprised at the things that come up, and the opportunities that then come out of what you may not have thought of. Somebody else is going to be able to think for you. So our next one is opportunities. And what opportunities are available to your organization? How or where can you gain more customers? Are there upcoming events that you may be able to grow your business? So now, like, is there any networking, Zoom events? I know some of the chambers are doing some of their stuff online. So now that we're not able to network, there are some online networking that's happening. Demands for your products or your services, are they growing in a particular area that was maybe pretty quiet before? What trends can you take advantage of? So what's happening right now, and what in your business are you able to, it's like a trend and you're thinking, I can pivot to that. So our next thing is threats. And what trends or conditions can negatively impact your business, environmentally or regulations? Those are 2 big ones. What about your financial support? And what happens if you lost some key resources or some key employees? How would your business do then? And will your suppliers always be able to supply the materials at the prices that you can afford? So by reviewing the results of your analysis, you'll be able to work on your business strategy. An objective of SWOT analysis is to help show all the factors which affects planning and decision making. A SWOT analysis usually conducted using a 4-square template. However, you could just make a list and under each category. You want to start brainstorming and identifying and capturing factors and information under each of these strategies. And once you've done this, you should look under each category of your list and put them in the highest to lowest priority. And that, I'll put it over to Judy for our next part.
So some of you are in the place of starting something new completely, because your business has been shut down right now and closed, and you have to do something else to bring in revenue, and that's okay. Or some of you, and maybe it's a project that you wanted to start before that you never got to. So now's the time, it's perfect time to start something new. You may be just wanting to maintain through this whole COVID and just keep your business alive, and that's okay. But some of you are going to be in the scale mode, because it's a perfect opportunity for you to scale up and get your business moving even better. But when you're in this mode, you want to look at your revenue. Your revenue is the lifeblood of your business. If you're not bringing in money, you're not making money, you're not doing business. So you want to, I think of it as a table, and think of the top of the table as your revenue. And if you have one leg on your table, and that's just one product that you offer or one service that you offer, your table's unstable. And so what you want to do is you want to look at, how do I get like 4 legs on my table? What are the 4 products that I could offer that would stabilize my table? And if you can get 5 products, that's even better, because then you got a really super stable table. And if one falls out, you just can replace it with something else. So that's where people have to go right now, is they have to look at, how do I stabilize my table with revenue? And how do I add new products and services? So, and it's okay to change what you were doing to something else. Look at your skills. Look at the things that you're good at. Figure out what you could offer that other people need right now, because the needs have changed. I always say money doesn't disappear. It just moves. And so you need to move where the money goes. Find a way to move where your revenue came from before and find it somewhere else. As a business owner and entrepreneur, that's what we're good at. We're good at finding revenue in another place. One of the ways to do that too is you need to focus on the next 90 days, because we don't know what's coming up after that. It used to be that we could easily write, we could write a business plan for 5 years, and, but really the mainstay of someone's business is 90 days. If you can nail your 90 days, every 90 days, your business keeps moving, and you don't want it to stop. So look at the first 30 days. What can I do right now in this next 30 days that's going to bring me in revenue? What are the products I'm going to offer? What are the services I'm going to offer? What are the skill sets that I can offer people? And go out and do that. If, like I said, if it's a new idea, add it in and start doing it. Find the clients, help them with their problems. Remember, it's always about finding out what the problems are in the market and matching your skill sets with those problems. Once you've nailed your 30 days and you know what you're going to be doing in 30 days, then you can go out and look at your 60 days and say, okay, if I know I can make this much money in the next 30 days. Now, if I add to that this in the next 60 days, what can I do to make more money in the next 60 days? And you're always looking at that units, the products, how many units can you sell? What's the price going to be? And you might offer 3 new products in the next 90 days, or you might take one product and just sell some, sell more, and sell more. So it's really looking at, what am I going to do, and detail it down to the detail of every day I'm going to do this. Action makes things happen. If you put it in detail and you detail it out what you're going to do, it will happen. And don't be afraid to fail or not make your target exactly. But if you don't do anything, then you will fail. And if you stop, you will fail. So don't. That's our whole message today, is just keep moving forward, find things that you can do. And I mean things that are going to bring in revenue. Always it's something looking at what is going to bring me the money, and where did the money go to? Who's got money and who's paying for what right now? Because the money's there. People are making money right now. Now Joan's going to quickly talk about the weekly status report, which is totally different and a different topic altogether. But you do have some people, probably maybe if you've got a team, that are working from home and working remotely. And this weekly status report works both for them and a normal business where you have employees and you want to know what's going on with the people on your team on a regular basis.
So yeah, so one of the other things I wanted to mention, which we had kind of forgot about to put in our slide, is when you're thinking about things like your SWOT analysis, one of the things you might want to look at is, partnering up with some other businesses. What can you do together? Maybe not independently, but together you might be able to come up with a really good business idea moving forward. So one of the things that I always say, and Judy always says, is, it doesn't hurt to bring in other people to help you and to partner with, on certain specifics. So just thought I'd throw that out before I carry on with the weekly status report. So typically a weekly status report is done when people are working remotely. However, there's many different reasons for it to be done. For instance, if we're working on compensation within a business, or you want to keep track of projects. So a status report is really good to have. So our next slide is the objective of the report is to inform the leadership that the tasks and the assignments that have been worked on have been completed in the time frame that has been set out. So typically, a status report is done when people are working remotely, but like I said, they can also be done with projects. So our next slide, having weekly reports are an efficient way to communicate the projects and tasks and how they're progressing. And next. The reports show what an individual has been able to achieve or accomplish during the week and what may have impeded or prevented important tasks or projects from being completed. And when we talk about this, it allows the person the opportunity to say what's kind of on their mind, and also then the opportunity for the leadership or the supervisor or manager, or even possibly you could have other coworkers working off each other. You know, where are you struggling? What do you need help with? And some people don't say it verbally, but they may be able to write it down. So these are also good components to having a weekly status report. So some of the questions you might want to ask on your weekly status report is, what did you accomplish this past week? And what problems or issues did you encounter? What did you learn this week and how will it help you? And what can we do to make your job more successful? And that last question is really important because sometimes the creators in our business are our employees. And so by helping them to do what they do best, we become more successful. The reports are better able to help management make informed decisions regarding assignments and help the employee get a better idea of how much work they have or are able to complete. And you need to devote some time to getting some insights into your employees on what they are thinking and doing. Don't make assumptions. These reports can help you to understand what a person is thinking and feeling and what ideas and suggestions they may have. So sometimes they don't necessarily tell you, but they might write it. And so when you're looking through these reports, you can see something that somebody might have suggested, but maybe they were just too afraid to come right out and say it, but they wrote it down on a paper. They help you to open up your team and helps them to be more engaged. Okay. And on to Judy. So that was a quick weekly status report.
So one of the things that we've pivoted, not totally, but we were teaching in class, and we were booked out right through to next year in July to do in-class teaching. And last month we had to take a look at how we're going to do this because we can't teach. But we've been using Zoom for, I've been on Zoom since 2017, full-time, using it almost all the time. And so we pivoted to Zoom and we're doing online. All of our classes now are on Zoom. We have 1.5 hour lessons, 3 hour lessons, 5 hour lessons, and 6 hour lessons, where people are on Zoom with us all day long. And we have found a way to do our class, and our class is so excited about doing it. They didn't realize that they would like it. So, you know, it was a good change for us and it's been wonderful. One of the things we also came up with is some free Zoom training. So if you're interested and want to learn how to Zoom, and Zoom can be used for all kinds of things in your business right now. It is a perfect tool to keep connected with people, to put those online courses on that you wanted to learn to do. So we have a free Zoom course. If you go to courses.ohoeducation.com and look for the free Zoom course that says getting started, you can sign up there with your email address and just be on the Zoom and watching it right away. It's a good tool, and it's a good tool for everybody's business, I think, right now. So yeah, if you want to do that, that would be awesome.
That's a great tool, Judy. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Yeah.
Yeah, so also if you're interested in a handout or a sample Word template on a weekly status report, you can just contact myself at my email address for work there, and I could send you out a sample template. It's, you know, you revise it any way you want to. It just gives you an opportunity to get started, especially if you are working from home and are struggling on finding out or knowing what the employee is doing, because we do know that a lot of employees right now are struggling. They've got a lot of stuff on their plate. They may have the children at home. They're doing homeschooling. And so, you know, just having this weekly status report allows you to see for yourself, you know, what may need they may need some more help on, and also to help them, and also so that they don't feel that they're not getting their work done, because a lot of employees right now, or a lot of people, are struggling to get through the day and to complete the work assignments that need to get done. So, you know, you have to look at what they're going through. And so, yeah, so this weekly status report is not necessarily a bad thing. It helps them and it helps you.
Thank you. Thank you, Joan, and thank you, Judy. You had some great tips and information that I think is going to be helpful to our viewers, women entrepreneurs from all over BC. Judy, you said, talking about in the SWOT analysis, you know, is to, under opportunities, is for businesses to be looking at trends. And, you know, I think that's a great part right now of the SWOT analysis, even if you just do one piece, which is look at the opportunities. What are the trends out there? And depending on your community, in Victoria, for example, a group has formed that have put together a buy local Facebook group. They've got a whole buy local trend that's going on, that businesses are jumping on board and able to rally together, which leads to something that that Joan said in talking about working with others. Who else could I work with? What other businesses could I work with? And I think Carrie Lee's got a great example that she shared with me yesterday that I'm sure she'll share. But when businesses are working together in a strategic alliance, there often are possibilities and opportunities that you may not have thought about. So thank you, Judy and Joan, both of you. So we've got an opportunity now for audience input and a Q&A. And while we're doing that, Carrie Lee, do you want to explain a little bit about just an example in BC where a brewery is working with other small businesses?
Great, thanks, Dawn. Hi, everybody. Yeah, we have a WEC loan client here in Kelowna, Rustic Real Brewing, and I enjoy their products and also follow them on Instagram. And they've got a little bit of what I'm going to call a little bit of a storefront cafe at the end of the brewery, where they bring in local bakers and different types of suppliers. So they created a great Mother's Day package with, you can, you know, pick up some of their freshly brewed beer. They've partnered with Taste of the Okanagan, which is also a woman-owned business here in Kelowna, and she does like sauces, chutneys, tapenade, lots of great items. And then there's a business, local business that does cured meats, etc. So for like a charcuterie plate, and then flour. So putting together, working with all these other local businesses to create these packages that you can pre-order and pick up for Mother's Day. So just, you know, some of those different alliances as well. That's a great opportunity that they found probably when they sat down and did a SWOT analysis and said, okay, we can't have 200 people in the brewery anymore to enjoy this. What can we do to, you know, to keep moving forward? So I thought that was a great example of collaboration and cooperation, and as again, just supporting that local small businesses, which was great. And I do have a question coming in as well here. So talking about the weekly reporting and check-in, Joan, that you were mentioning. So some people are new to remote, right? This isn't normal for them, and you would have typically those verbal check-ins and all of that. So how do you implement that now and not erode the, you know, that feeling of trust with your employees, or, you know, not make them feel like they're micromanaged? How can you frame that up so that it really is positive for everybody, and you know, you don't want to think that you're make them feel like you think they're not doing anything. So looking for some feedback on that.
Yes, and that's the hardest part about putting out a weekly status report, but it's how you communicate to your employees. So I know for myself, what happened, for example, is I overseen 3 other businesses under ambulatory care between Saskatchewan and Alberta, but yet my main supervisor lived back east. And so we had such a time zone, and how did we communicate and connect? So one of the things that we had come up with is, because we can't connect all the time, by the time we do connect, I can't remember some of the stuff and she can't remember what she might have needed me to do, or, just different things. So it was our communication on why did we actually need this? And, it was for a benefit for me, because when I get on and I tell her, this is what I did, well, sometimes I couldn't even remember, especially in HR, and especially in these times, you're doing so much within a week. It's really struggles for people to remember things. So it's just, how do you communicate? How have you ever communicated with your employees? Like, if they feel, if you never communicated well, it is going to come across micromanaging. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that before you do it, you want to have a good communication. Sit down. What is it you're going to say, and how are you going to say it without coming across? Because absolutely, some companies have gone in and just thrown it out to them and said, here, I need you to do this. And people feel, well, wait a minute, why? So, you need to list those reasons why. And it's because we're not going to talk, even if we talk for 15 minutes in the morning, our team, we're not going to get everything out. We're not going to understand somebody's struggle that they went through at 3 o'clock that afternoon and why they couldn't get it done. So it's just really taking into, if it was you, what would it be that you would want to know? And that's how you do your communication. So I hope that answers that.
No, that's great. And that's come up, and Dawn can attest to this as a theme on all of these sessions, is communication is so key right now to all parties, right? To your banker, your funder, your lenders, your suppliers, your customers, your employees, and it's a lot, and we're on Zoom a lot to do that, but I think it's so important as well. And to make sure everybody's being heard, as, not just speaking at them, but also receiving as well.
And
yes,
and I was going to say, and managing that balance for sure, as you mentioned, in the objectives of the organization and the business, and the care for the employees, and finding that balance.
Yeah.
Yes. And on the weekly status report, remember, you can put questions in there for them that helps them, feel like they're part of helping you get your business get through this. Like, today I had a challenge and, I wasn't able to get this done. So it's really, really, communication is the hardest thing. Judy and I, we go through this quite a bit, teaching communication, and even for ourselves, it is tough. And, as you're going through, you start to understand all the different problems of communication as you're doing some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Thank
I
you.
was on a Zoom session with friends yesterday for a catch up, and we were talking about how everybody's starting to feel exhausted, right? Because you're on these Zoom, and it's great that we have this, because it's great to see your faces as we're having this conversation. But we're also the entire time looking at our own face, and you can be hypercritical of yourself. Oh, my curl's out of the way, or right. And so I think that's part of the exhaustion as well. So it's doing those employee check-ins and how are you feeling, and don't go into Zoom overload as well. So
Yes.
A little bit of taking care, and that'll lead us into our next Zoom session, which Dawn will talk about, but making sure you're taking care of yourself as well so that you can take care of your team. And I just want to add a comment. I was on a session that the Kelowna Chamber of Commerce put on last week about HR and just talking about that weekly status report and the check-in and understanding that, you know, their kids woke up from a nap and at 2 o'clock and was screaming, so maybe they didn't get something done. And it says, Shawnee Love, an HR professional, said 80% productivity is normal, right? So, you know, you're productive 80% of the time you're working. And right now we have to give grace to people because it's about 40 to 50%, right? Because there are so many other distractions. So I think that would be part of that messaging in that weekly check-in sheet, or, you know, that status report saying, we understand you can't go at, you know, 100% capacity all the time. I don't think any of us can at this point. So just something to think about when you're managing people as well.
Yeah, and Shawnee has some great tips. She has a nice website and some blogs on there too for people if they wanted to go on. It's Love HR, I believe.
HR, yeah.
Yeah. And she has a lot of blogs on there and tips. Yeah, even some communication tips for you. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, you know, about HR. A lot of us work together to try and help each other because each person has some experts in different things, and just feeding off one another really helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Joan and I have had the experience of working remotely for a while because she lives in Saskatchewan and I live in BC. And we partnered together on all our projects. So the communication sometimes for us has been a little difficult and gets heated sometimes. And one of the things Joan says to me is push through it. Just push through it. Just keep talking. Don't stop talking to me. Like, don't shut it down. And so that's the message maybe you could also get to your employees is, look, this is a different way of communicating. This is so odd for all of us. But we just need to keep talking. We need to keep communicating, even when it gets difficult, even when it gets hard. If you are upset and you're at home and you're falling apart and you don't feel that you can handle your kids and your homeschooling and all the stuff that's going on, tell me. As an employer, I need to know where you're at mentally, because we're all, like Joan's had that's on mental health right now, and many people are suffering from mental health. Yeah. And so that's something to look at. You're not out of the ordinary if you're feeling out of sorts. So yeah.
Good. So I'm going to go through, sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm going to look at the question. I have one that's come in. So going back to that SWOT analysis and looking at opportunities and leveraging trends, I have Janice that's asking, have either of you experienced sustaining them? For example, online meeting with donors or clients, right? We want to sustain all the good work to pivot and not spend too much time on creating a new way of doing business. I think they're a fabulous opportunity, but it costs time and money to implement and not toss out all that good work later. So again, jumping on that trend, but how do you know that it's a trend that's actually going to be sustainable?
Well, you know, yes, we have, because we've had some clients who didn't want to do, they only want to do the in-class leadership training. They don't want to have, we were going to pivot them to start doing some leadership training online and start looking at, you know, having meetings like this and training them on that. They were really uncomfortable with that because they have never been on this and they just weren't ready to do that. So we made an agreement with them that we would do the training later. And so we've postponed it right now to June, the end of June. But with a, you know, we all know that it may not be June and it may be August. And so it's really keeping that communication open with your client and be honest with them and say, okay, I know you don't want that, but let's do this. Let's just move it. Let's just push it forward for a while until we can all get together, you know, in 10 groups of 10 and groups of 15, and stay talking to your client. Like always, you know, pick up the phone once a week or every couple of weeks, especially your 20% that are bringing in the revenue, that, you know, that 20% of the butter on the top. You want to stay connected with them as much as you can. Call them, phone them, ask them how they're doing, you know, keep in touch with your clients. That's that communication again. But you can keep the old and pivot to new. So don't be afraid to do both. Pivot to new, but keep the old. So
so just like Judy had said previously, we had looked at some, and we're always looking at this SWOT analysis. We're almost, I'd say weekly. Judy and I continually look at future, what we can do. And like she said, 8 years ago, she started looking at this online. So once her and I had partnered up, we really started looking at it a lot more. So what you might come up with on your SWOT analysis today could be something that could be for your future. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right now. And another part that we did is listen to the clients, and what sometimes when, you know, you're used to maybe invoicing them for certain things, but right now, sometimes it's just giving them the information and letting them also help with their businesses. So it's not always right now about charging, because it will come back to you if you help other organizations. Whatever you can do to help someone else right now, I believe is going to help you in the future.
And we've been giving away a lot of things to our clients right now that are we didn't plan, like, you know, Joan's giving them HR advice. She's helping them with problems with their employees. We're having meetings with them that leadership training meetings that we're not charging for. Because sometimes in these times when people don't have money and they're struggling, if you give to them, that's a whole law of reciprocity. It will come back to you. Somehow you will get back more than you gave. And so that is a big ticket, I think, that people need to look at right now, is what can you give to other people? And when you give, you will get back. It will come back at you tenfold.
And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Judy and Joan both for giving today, for volunteering to provide this information to our clients across BC and to share your expertise, both of you. Thank you so much for offering to be the panelists on our webinar today. Carrie Lee, I wanted to touch base to see if there was any more questions.
I have one. This one was emailed in when the person registered, and it's a bit different than what we've been talking about. So they have a fencing company, right? So they, you know, during this, you know, the past 4 to 6 weeks, they've done kind of what we've been preaching. They've been working on their business, right? Taking that step back now that they can do that. But they're, you know, everything is saying, oh, pivot and go online and pivot. And they're like, you know, we have a Facebook page, we have our website, we have a blog, but they can't go just online. Obviously, they're selling fencing and the posts and doing some of the install. So they're asking for how can they map out that plan for when they can start actually working in the business again? What are some of the key things that, you know, to keep going, keep moving forward, but to be ready when I'm going to say the economy opens up or it opens up again. So that's a lot about what's coming up. That's starting to bubble to the surface now. I see from a lot of our partners as well. It's like, okay, we're think about recovery. So maybe, you know, thinking of this very, I'm going to call it physical business, but how can people plan for that recovery and be ready for when things do start to open up?
You know, we did that, like that 30, 60, 90 that we're talking about. Like we're looking, when we started April, May, June. And so what are we going to do in April? What are we going to do in May? What are we going to do in June? And we planned that nothing would happen in class till June. If clients need it, we would look at the end of June. So we weren't unrealistic in, you know, planning that. But now we're looking at May, June, July. And so if we need to, that June's going to move to July. But always have that in your plan, your 30, 60, 90-day plan, and be willing to move it out, but don't get rid of it. So like when you're a fencing business, you want to look at how am I going to get to back, what month can I get back to fencing? In the meantime, what can I do to make money? This month, next month, now I'm back to fencing. So I think the 30, 60, 90-day plan would be a good way to start.
One of the other things I would suggest right now in the fencing, and what even came up on one of our webinars yesterday is, yes, people businesses are opening back up, but people are afraid to go to them, like go to a restaurant. So what you need to do is you need to show your clients how you are going to protect them. So that's where I would look first, is I would really look at what is my plan to protecting these people when I come back. And that's what you need to tell them. They need to be able to see it or read it and feel really comfortable that you are well prepared for what happens when you want to either sell them the products, put the fencing in, you know, how are you going to avoid some social distancing with them? Can you talk about over the phone in regards to maybe coming and looking if you're doing preparing for it? Do you want to go out and look at their yard? Where do they want the fence? How can some of this stuff be done over the phone or through a Zoom call, passing your documentations around? And then when you're on Facebook, you can clearly tell you know, put up a thing. This is how I'm going to protect people. This is what we're going to do. So that is another way. That's part of that 30-day plan. You know, in the next 30 days, I know I'm going to be able to start my business back up. If it was in 30, and how are my clients going to feel safe about it? So that's the top of mind right now. So that's what I would suggest, is look at how you're going to be making it safe for those people.
Yeah. And that goes back to that communication is key through all of this, right? So making sure you're communicating with your clients. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'd just like to add to that is the business was asking, we can't sell fence posts online necessarily, but certainly this could be a really good time to be connecting with potential clients online. So really increasing maybe social media activity and just ramping that up in a way that's going to generate your company top of mind.
Yes, I totally agree. With Carrie Lee, that communication, and like Judy said, there is no way of moving too much unless we know we have great communication. And if we can communicate with our clients, our business partners, our children, our family, everybody's struggling right now. But yeah, top of mind, it's always like, take a piece of calm, go back, kind of think, sometimes, like I said, just turn yourself around, in a circle. And once you've done that 180, very slowly, you can refresh your mind, right? So it's like, just take a pause for a minute and then just get back at and creating some thoughts and asking people for help. Right now, I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for help.
I just noticed, right? Can I just mention, Janice had said something about being a fundraising consultant.
Yeah.
And I love raising money for people and helping with raising money. And this is a perfect opportunity to get people on Zoom and start talking about projects and proposals and how are you going to get your fund, like planning right now for those times when you can get out and start fundraising. Do all the planning now. Because when you're ready, you can hit it just running when you can get out there and start to talk to people and do that kind of fundraising. So I think the planning stage right now is just the perfect opportunity for a fundraiser.
Yeah, well, that's
anyway.
Good. And I think, Dawn, that's the last that I've seen coming in here, which is good. So yeah, if we want to wrap up.
Yes. Thank you, Carrie Lee, and especially thank you to Judy, Michaud, and Joan Kleinsteuber. Thank you so much for contributing your expertise today. We couldn't do these webinars without people like yourselves who are willing to share expertise. So thank you. We've got some upcoming webinars, Women's Enterprise Center, SEO for Beginners, Search Engine Optimization, how to make sure your website is getting the traffic that you need. It needs to be pretty, but it needs to be more than pretty. So a whole webinar on search engine optimization coming up, and also blogging for business. Another great way to communicate with your clients and potential customers is blogging for business. We do have another Strength in Numbers COVID webinars coming up, and the next one is on Tuesday, May 12th at 2 p.m. So thank you for joining us. Please do take a look, womensenterprisecenter.ca, lots of great resources. We have a loans program. You can access information about that through our business loans information session. It's a free phone-in session as well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Carrie Lee, for being
You're
a
welcome.
background person who's managing it all. And have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
I want to end on a
Oh.
quote from Judy. I think it's my favorite part today. Action makes things happen. So I loved that, Judy, and I think that's so important for us all right now. So thank you so much to everyone.
Okay.
Thank
See you guys. Have a good day.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.